So here I am at last, after 4 years. I've just re-listened to the video that I first published. It's been a bit of a gap. Things have happened. But I'm back. And I'm back because at first, when I posted the video, the first one, I thought, who am I? I went back into my garden. Who am I? What do I know? I'm not professional. I'll just get on with my life and grow my vegetables and fruit. But recently, I've been noticing that there are a lot of people and women out there struggling with the kind of story that I have, the past, waiting lists for therapy. And I thought maybe these videos could inspire, like I said in the first one, help others perhaps trust themselves, find their own ways. There's lots of good things on the net now, and I'll mention some of them. There's good stuff out there. If it's hard to find a therapist or you don't have money for a therapist, there is good, very good stuff on the net, and there's some wonderful books around. And so I'm just going to add what I know. So the reason why I've had a gap, I think, was COVID, and then I kind of got settled into just living my life and, as I said, thinking I'm not really important. But last year I visited Shetland, the Shetland Isles, where my father was born, and it shifted something in me. I felt I was recognised by people over there. They said, "You look familiar, who are you?" And because it's a small community, and I felt a very strong connection. I felt a connection with the strong characters that these Shetlanders are, these feistiness, which I've always had, been insulted for at times, and sometimes it has been over the top, I've got to admit. But I felt something there that gave me a new sense of belonging. And interestingly, where I live in New Zealand, Aotearoa, I live on a hill. I see the sea every day. I feel the sea. I smell the sea, just like Shetland. We get wonderful storms. Our climate's very similar in some ways to Shetland. So unconsciously, I chose a place to live, which I've been here for about 40 years, over 40 years now. It's very much like where my father came from, to some extent. So I'm carrying on, and I'm carrying on because one of the principles I talked about, or one of the observations that I had in my own healing journey, and I have had this supported from what I've learned from Indigenous people, we have life force. And I want to talk about how I learned to understand that and learn to slowly recognize what fed my particular life force. And this is one of the things in the Western medical model that they don't really acknowledge. They don't acknowledge this life force that goes through everything. Indigenous people talk about it. In fact, I was listening to an Indigenous podcast, which has inspired me to get back on the video. I am Western, of course. I grew up in a Western culture. We just kind of mechanize everything. And there has to be a technique, and there has to be a tool, there has to be a diagnosis that needs treatment. As far as I'm concerned, women who've been raped and abused, and I'll mainly talk about women because I think it's slightly different for men, and that's where my experience is with women, and I'm a woman myself. First of all, I think one of the most important things for me was acknowledging that when you are raped or sexually abused, it touches your life force. And I figured this out because if you use the word rape is is referred to Mother Earth. Mother Earth is raped. I know it's a word that people find quite disturbing, but one of the first steps in my healing has been really to own what happened to me, name it loudly and clearly. And then I found this identification one night when I was very disturbed and crying, and I was walking around the sea where I live in the night, in the dead of night. And I suddenly connected with, I was feeling very alone and isolated, but I finally connected with Mother Earth under my feet. And I realized then that she had been through so much, and there was a kinship. That's how it kind of began for me. And this is something I wrote in my book, and this is true. I was travelling on a bus with a group of Kiwi blokes between two towns in New Zealand, and I had confirmed to me the word rape. One of them noticed a hillside that had been completely milled of trees. The view was one of devastation, because we've milled a lot of our timber to grow exotic timber like pine. That's what had happened. The hill's wound was raw, and he commented, this is from a man, "My God, that's rape." The thing about the word rape is it doesn't minimise. The parallel between the Earth's destruction and the rape of human beings is really clear. The hillside was bare, vulnerable and exposed, and any new seeds left by the felled trees would wash away with the wind and rain. For the hillside to recover, it needed growth and nurturing. Fortunately, the seeds for new flora lie dormant in the earth's belly. Under the right conditions and the right time, they sprout and grow. The healing journey for women who've been raped can be compared to the healing of a raped hillside. Women's healing wisdom lies within them, and this too will grow with the right conditions and time. Now it has for me, but I didn't understand, and this is why I'm speaking really, because I didn't really understand that. I was kind of just finding my way in the darkness. I was, I was raised in the 50s in a white culture, a white colonizing culture, to be true. It's a big history we've had here and still have. I didn't understand that. So I think that's a really important first step of understanding. And it's not that we've damaged. I like to think that as women, we have a womb, and I think that when we're invaded and attacked in our center of our being, our womb, our center just kind of folds in. It's just waiting to open back up again. It's not damaged. It's not ruined. It's just waiting for the right conditions to grow. And I think the right conditions to grow are very unique for all of us. And I have noticed, and I certainly did this myself, and I've seen it in other women, sometimes we think the right conditions are our madness. And people look at us strangely and want to lock us up. It might be lying on the earth and just crying, or just imagining that earth holding you, or, getting into the rhythm of the moon and the sea. This is personal. I mean, I don't really want to name it. It's kind of personal. For me, it was kind of getting my hands in the soil and growing my vegetables and growing herbs and growing flowers. And I know now that when you look after a little plant, you're nurturing it. And that nurturing would go into me because plants nurture me. There's some wonderful writing out there. And I will, I'll have some books that I want to talk about through these videos, some wonderful writing from Indigenous people. So it's finding, it could be your voice, it might be you need to sing. Um, and you know it when you feel it, because you feel it in your body. It's a connection. It's a connection where life force starts to flow. Now, it's only the Western model that has ignored this. The Indian have the yoga and models of the Ayurvedic healing. The Chinese had their special Chinese healing. Every indigenous tribe on the planet has had their own indigenous healing, and they understand life force. The Western model's the only one that kind of misses it. And I can go into the politics of that, but out of the ashes when they burnt the witches, and if you look at the timing and the dates, out of that time, which went on for about 300 years, a gradual thing from the churches at the time, the medicine of those cultures was silenced, and that became the pattern of Western colonization. Every place they colonized, I mean, in New Zealand we have tohungas, which I've mentioned before, the medicine people of the Māori culture. They passed a bill in Parliament, forbade the practice of tohunga. So, we've been doing it a really long time. And the other thing I started to understand was that the pack rate broke me so much. It just kind of, I was kind of cracked open. It felt like the earth was no longer under my feet, and everything that I had felt security in was gone. There was no security for me. Medical security, all the religious security, all the things that I'd believed in was shattered, had gone with it. And I kind of was like having to find my feet through this journey that suited me. And I went down some funny paths at times that didn't suit me. So why I'm doing this is that I want to help people see and understand that within themselves, so they don't have to kind of suffer the way I did, going down wrong pathways and taking years and years and years to believe in myself and to feel this understanding. I mean, I think it was finally when I went back to Shetland that I went click, click, click. Okay, Brenda, it's okay to be yourself. And I am different. I just am. I like it. I like being different. So, life force, getting back to how you find that. So it's all the things or it may be only 2 or 3 things that you do that mean something to you. So, I've met people, it might be swimming, it might be water, you might have a strong link to water. So if I meet someone like that, I'll say, well, get in the water, be close to the water. It can be animals. I have a very strong connection with animals, and I owe my life really to a beautiful dog that looked after me in some very critical years, looking back now. I mean, the army trained dogs to help people with I had complex post-traumatic stress disorder, so told. The army trained dogs to help people who've been in war zones, to help them. I had a dog. She helped me sleep. She went everywhere with me. She helped my hypervigilance. She read my mind. She felt my energy. And sometimes she gave me energy when I was so depressed I didn't want to get up. But she would kind of be there, and she was like a seeing eye dog, really. She was amazing. My Esther. So animals, horses. I have a brother that has got into horses, and that gentle horse weighing and being with horses that are very gentle. Horses, and he often tells me how sensitive they are. It might be horses. And there's a lovely film about the horse whisperer, a man who was horribly abused as a child and has become really great with horses. Yeah, so just you will know in yourself. It might be, like for me, I have a big Pohutakawa tree, which is one of our beautiful indigenous trees that flowers at Christmas, these bright red flowers. And I have one growing outside my house. And I used to go and sit with it, lean on it. Sometimes when I was completely wacky and off, I would go and be with that tree. And as we know, trees communicate to each other. There's information on that now. So I feel it is nature-based, but that can be singing, drumming, dancing, being on the earth, but it's nature-based, it's natural, it's something that calls you, and it will be also linked to your culture. So, my culture is Scottish, Shetland, Nordic, and it'll be the kind of music you listen to, the kind of music you play. So what that does inside of us, it begins to get that flow, because rape stops the flow. Rape and abuse just, it stops that flow through our body because of the fear and the pain. And I've learnt that as a martial artist. You can't be a martial artist with a lot of fear flowing through your body. It's not about fear. It's not about aggression. It's about meeting whatever's coming your way with a strong center where your energy is flowing and it's relaxed. That's the other feeling. Now, for many years, I think I spent a lot of time out of my body. So it slowly guides you back into feeling back in your body. So I might leave it there, because this is about, I'm just sharing what I discovered the long, hard way, in the hope that this will ring bells for you, and then you can start to, and some of you will already be aware of this. Goodness me, I'm not the only one. And it's kind of time. Therapy and counselling can be helpful, and you meet lovely people and they can be really wonderful to help you come back into forming safe relationships with others and with yourself particularly. So this is just a beginning of an understanding of how our life force was blocked through fear, assaulted, attacked, and how it can open again so you can begin to feel your true essence. And that can take a bit of time. So again, thank you for listening. I've come in from my garden. I'm going to go back into my garden and I'll get a bit more organized, and there'll be another video up in a few days when I got it together. Go well, and blessings.